There is a well-known saying that goes, always give the hardest job to the laziest person because they will find the easiest way to do it. What is the best real-life example of this you have seen? 1. I once was a temp at a tiny office on a construction site in around 2003. I was only there for one day while the regular person was on some training. They sat me down and told me that I just needed to copy all these numbers from one program to another. So I selected them, hit Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. They stared at me. Turns out about 60% of this woman's time had been spent manually typing numbers from one place to another. 2. I worked in a CNC shop. There would be a pile of jobs that needed to be done for the month. Some took days to run while others were generally quick. The record for jobs done in one day was 8. What I did was look through all the jobs and organize them by setup. Meaning, every job has a setup time. Can take an hour to get all the tooling together, set up the cutting table, and setting the part square to the table so the machine can gauge where the part is, so when I insert the code into the machine, it can run flawlessly and drill, mill, tap whatever within a literally hair measurement. For every single job, the majority of parts use standard tooling, and I have an automatic tool that changes with 20 pockets. I figured out how to line up the jobs so they all have the same setup. Blew the record out of the water with 30 jobs done in one day, saving the company tens of thousands in work hours. All because I didn't feel like doing all the setups that day. 3. I worked a summer at a mortgage company as an underwriter assistant. My only job was printing documents and then hole punching them to put in folders. They had a super fancy Xerox printer that did my entire job for me, but the underwriters at this company didn't know how to click through printer settings to make the machine hole punch as it was being printed. I showed them how to do it, and they resisted it super hard. So I got to keep my job. But what was supposed to take me all day literally took me about 20 to 30 minutes first thing in the morning. So they started assigning me real tasks and even offered to keep me on to become an underwriter, too, eventually. Because I was so sharp, i.e. I knew how to use the costly printer they already had. I was just about to start grad school, so I had to decline politely. But I'm pretty sure they didn't hire someone to replace me when I left. 4. Maybe not the most impressive story here, but I thought it was a great sidestep of effort nonetheless. A coworker of mine had to get rid of a smaller junk fiberglass boat without a trailer. Our other coworkers were telling him how much time and money he'd need to spend to get rid of it, and he was just saying, "Oh, is that so?" He took off one day and sat down on his lawn with a beer cooler. That day was garbage day. Inevitably, the trash guys roll up. He hands each of them a cold beer and says, "Hey boys, got $50 for each of you if you help me out real quick." They fed the entire 12-feet boat into the packer, crushing 2 feet at a time. 5. Worked as a cashier during the holiday season back when I was 16. The supermarket was selling drinks by the boxes, and at that time, we only had barcode scanners that was at the front of the computer. No gun-type scanners existed. I was lazy and didn't want to carry boxes up to the scanner. So, I politely asked my customers if I could carve out the barcode from their box to scan and keep. Some agreed, some didn't want to, but eventually, I managed to amass all the barcodes needed, labeled them and kept them in a file for easy reference. Apparently some other cashier got green-eyed at my smart move and complained to the chief cashier, who promptly lectured me on, bullshot alert, how it's dangerous for me to scan such barcodes as I might scan the wrong things. She told me to throw it all away and carry the boxes like I was meant to. I mean, I was young so I could, but the other cashiers were older and some were elderly and needed the customers themselves to help carry the boxes to the scanner. But whatever, I guess jealousy trumps common sense. 6. I work in a semi-warehouse environment and we have to track where items are at all times. When we moved X item from location A to location B, we had to type out the to and from locations. We do this hundreds of times a shift. I went online to a free barcode maker website and spent about 20 minutes making location barcodes. I save hours a day by scanning barcodes. 7. I used to deliver beer. I did not like it. I may have ended up with 30 stops in a day, including deliveries that the customer would call our office for. I used to bring extra beer and blank invoices with me on the truck to prevent having to drive back to my warehouse to deliver one keg to a place that I was currently across the street from. 7 years later, the driver of that route is still doing that. 8. Herding yak with a drone takes the cake for me. They run from it and oddly fear it. This is surprising, considering they have literally zero aerial predators. We only did it a few times because it really makes them uneasy, and doesn't treat them well, but it is very effective and easy, and you can hear them from over half a mile away from inside the house. 9. At my last job, a truck suspension shop, we did inventory every December and it was someone's job to count all the washers and screws of every size. It was my first inventory, and I casually mentioned that they should just weigh one screw or washer, then weigh them all and divide the weight to get the count. Everyone looked at me like I'd given them the key to the universe. Counting washers and screws went from a day or two to just a few hours. 10. In high school we had to do 4 book reports every year. A friend of mine did his on each Lord of the Rings books and The Hobbit freshman year and turned in the same 4 book reports for the rest of his time in high school. You switched English teachers every year so no one ever caught on. I was never brave enough to try the same thing. 11. Automated 70% of my job in a large finance firm as an intern. Never disclosed it and got paid easy money for 6 months. I spent the time doing courses and applying for my grad school. Got my admission letter during the final 2 weeks of my internship and never looked back. 12. Worked in a huge hotel by the airport. We had a layover with over 400 people. I think we were 3 employees. They had a buffet for dinner and then left to go to bed since it was 1 or 2 a.m. The rule was that we should always go to the room and pick up as many plates as we could and then bring them to the cleaner. Took ages, and I wanted to go home. I decided to roll out the cart, collect the plates, and put them on the cart. Guests saw it and started putting their plates on the cart when they left. All of a sudden, hundreds of people cleaned up their own stuff. The duty manager saw it, and I thought he would blast me since the hotel was a 5-star place. He just looked at me, smiled, and said, "That's why I like to hire lazy people. They think of ways to finish work faster."